My name is Madison Clark. I'm 28 years old, and for the past year, my life has revolved around one thing: planning my dream wedding. I'm the kind of person who color codes her spreadsheets and triple checks every booking. After months of searching, saving, and compromising, I finally secured the most beautiful venue, a converted barn overlooking rolling green hills in Vermont. It wasn't just a building to me. It was the place where I imagined walking down the aisle, where my fiancé, Ethan, would see me in my dress for the first time, where my happily ever after would begin. But last Friday, everything came crashing down. I got a call from the venue's coordinator. She sounded awkward, almost apologetic, when she told me, Madison, your brother called earlier this week and said you wanted to release the booking. He said you wouldn't need the space anymore. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a miscommunication. But then I called my brother, Logan, and he admitted it without a hint of guilt. "Relax, Mads," he said casually, as if he hadn't just detonated my entire wedding plan. "It was just sitting there. The guys needed a place for our poker night. You can book it again." I felt my stomach twist. That venue had a 1-year wait list. I couldn't just book it again. I sat there in silence, holding the phone, feeling something in me snap. After years of being the understanding sister, the one who let things slide, who cleaned up his messes, this was the last straw. I knew right then. This wasn't just about a venue. It was about my place in this family. And I wasn't sure I wanted it anymore. Growing up, I always felt like I had to earn my place in the Clark family. My mom, Deborah, was the kind of woman who believed appearances were everything. The house had to be spotless, our clothes perfectly pressed, and our smiles picture-ready, no matter what was actually going on inside. My dad, Richard, was quiet, reserved, the kind of man who buried himself in work and let Mom make all the decisions. And then there was Logan, the golden child. If Logan came home with a bad grade, Mom would laugh it off and say, "Boys will be boys." When I got an A-, she'd ask why it wasn't an A. If Logan dented Dad's car sneaking out, Dad would just sigh and fix it himself. When I accidentally broke a vase, I was grounded for a week. I learned early on that if something went wrong, I'd probably get blamed. By high school, I had become the responsible one. I babysat neighbors' kids to pay for my own school trips, while Logan spent his allowance on new sneakers and video games. I drove him to practice, covered for him when he stayed out late, and listened to Mom's endless lectures about how I should be more patient with your brother. The pattern never changed. Holidays were the worst. If Logan forgot to buy gifts, Mom would slip his name on mine so no one would notice. If he skipped family dinners, she'd make excuses for him. And I stayed quiet. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. That one day, when I was older, I'd finally be seen for who I was, the daughter who kept this family glued together. But sitting here now, after losing the wedding venue I worked so hard for, I realized maybe I had been wrong all along. Maybe they never saw me at all. When Ethan proposed last summer, I cried, not just because I loved him, but because I felt like my life was finally my own. I had spent years prioritizing my family, smoothing over their drama, putting myself last. This wedding was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be the one thing that was entirely mine. I spent months making it happen. I worked double shifts at the marketing agency, sometimes staying until midnight to pick up extra freelance projects. Every dollar I saved went toward the venue deposit. When Ethan suggested we book something cheaper, I insisted we could make it work, because this place felt like the first thing I had ever chosen for myself. Meanwhile, Logan kept finding ways to insert himself into my life. "Hey, Mads, can you spot me $200? I'll pay you back Friday. Can you watch Duke while I go out of town? Can you swing by Mom's and help her organize the garage?" I'm swamped. And every time I said yes, because saying no always ended the same way, Mom would call, voice sharp, reminding me that family helps family, and Dad would stay silent on the line until I caved. I remember one night, 2 months before the wedding, sitting on the floor surrounded by mason jars and fairy lights, glue-gunning together centerpieces while Ethan tried to talk me into eloping. "You're killing yourself over this wedding," he said gently, taking the glue gun from my hand. I just need one thing to go right, I told him, tears burning the corners of my eyes. I didn't know then that the thing I was clinging to, the venue, the vision, was already slipping through my fingers. Because while I was staying up late and pinching pennies, Logan was bragging to his friends about how Mads scored the perfect party spot for him. I was too tired to see the warning signs. Too busy trying to keep everyone happy to notice that, once again, I was about to be the one left standing in the wreckage. When I confronted Logan about giving away my venue, I expected at least an apology. Instead, he just laughed. "You're seriously mad about this? It's just a building, Mads. You act like it's life or death." I could feel my chest tighten. "Do you have any idea how hard I worked for that booking? Do you even care?" He shrugged, like we were talking about borrowing a sweater. "You'll figure something out. You always do." That sentence, "you always do," hit me like a slap. Because he was right. I always fix things. I always made it okay for everyone else. I called my mom, hoping she'd finally take my side. Instead, she sighed and said, "Sweetheart, it's just one night. Logan's friends probably needed it more than you do. Can't you be the bigger person?" I waited for my dad to say something, anything, but all I heard was his silence on the other end of the line. Something in me broke right then. I hung up, walked into my room, and started packing away my wedding binder, my carefully labeled envelopes, my color-coded seating chart. The tears came hot and fast, but this time I didn't try to stop them. Ethan found me sitting on the floor, shoving papers into a box. "I'm done," I said quietly, my voice shaking. "With the venue, with them, with all of it." I didn't slam the door when I left the house that night. I closed it gently, deliberately. Because I knew if I stayed, if I kept letting this pattern repeat, I'd lose more than a venue. I'd lose myself. The next morning, I woke up with puffy eyes and a pounding headache, but also with a strange sense of clarity. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the urge to call Mom back and apologize. I didn't feel like explaining myself or smoothing things over. I just stopped caring about being the good daughter. Instead, I opened my laptop and emailed the venue to officially cancel the booking. Not because Logan took it, but because I was done fighting for something that was supposed to be joyful. "Are you sure?" Ethan asked softly when I told him. "Yes," I said. And for once, I meant it. That week, we made a decision that shocked everyone. We downsized the wedding. We found a small vineyard on Ethan's side of town that was available in 3 months. It was half the size of the original venue, half the cost, and for the first time, it felt like ours. I cut my guest list in half. No more distant relatives who only came to gossip. No more trying to make Mom happy with fancy floral arrangements or seating charts that avoided drama. I also moved out of my apartment, which was still close to my parents' house, and into a tiny place with Ethan. It was cramped and messy and didn't have enough closet space, but it was ours. Little by little, I rebuilt my life. I stopped answering Logan's casual, "Can you help me out?" texts. I started spending weekends with people who actually made me feel good. Ethan's sister, my college friend Jenna, even a few coworkers who had always invited me out but I'd been too busy to join. At first, it felt lonely, even wrong. But slowly, I began to feel lighter. On the morning of our new wedding day, I stood in front of the mirror in my simple dress, no designer label, no dramatic train, and I felt beautiful. Not because everything was perfect, but because it wasn't. Because it was real. When Ethan took my hand at the altar, I realized that what I had built wasn't just a wedding. It was a life that finally belonged to me. It didn't take long for the calls to start. At first, they were casual, my mom leaving voicemails with a bright, brittle tone. "Hi, sweetheart. Haven't heard from you in a while. Call me back when you're not busy." When I didn't respond, the tone shifted. "Madison, this is childish. Whatever happened with Logan, you can't just cut us off. We're family." Then came the guilt trips. "Your grandmother hasn't been feeling well. She'd love to see you. She asks about you every day. Are you really going to keep punishing us?" But the one that nearly broke me was the text from Logan, a single line that said, "You ruined everything." For a moment, I almost called him back. The old me would have, desperate to defend myself, to prove I wasn't the bad guy. But then I remembered sitting on my bedroom floor, packing away my wedding binder while nobody in that house cared. I remembered every time my feelings had been brushed aside, every time I had been told to be the bigger person. And for the first time, I realized being the bigger person didn't mean letting them step on me. So I wrote back one message, just one. I didn't ruin anything, Logan. I just stopped letting you ruin me. After that, the calls slowed down. My mom still tried, here and there, an occasional Facebook message, a forwarded photo of a family dinner I hadn't been invited to, but I no longer felt the urge to reply. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was free. It's been 6 months since the wedding, and sometimes I still catch myself reaching for the phone when something big happens, instinctively wanting to tell my mom or hear my dad's quiet approval. But then I remember that peace I felt walking down the aisle, surrounded only by the people who chose to show up for me, not out of obligation, not because they were family by blood, but because they truly loved me. I've learned that family isn't about who shares your DNA. It's about who shows up when life is hard, who celebrates your wins, who doesn't use your kindness as a free pass to walk all over you. For so long, I thought choosing myself would make me selfish, that I'd lose my family, my identity, everything that made me good. But I didn't lose myself. I found myself. I'm no longer the girl who cleans up everyone else's messes just to keep the peace. I'm no longer the sister who puts her life on hold because someone else demands it. I am Madison Clark, a wife, a friend, a woman who finally knows her worth. If anyone watching this has ever felt like the responsible one, the one holding everything together, I hope you hear me when I say, choosing yourself isn't betrayal. It isn't selfish. It's survival. And sometimes, survival is the bravest, most loving thing you can do. So no, I didn't get the wedding venue I dreamed of. But I got something better. I got a life where I am no longer begging for a seat at the table because I finally built my own.